The night of the lockdown started like any ordinary after-school activity session. A storm was brewing outside, sending sharp winds rattling against the old windows of Greystone High. Most students had gone home, but a few of us, members of the yearbook committee, were stuck inside, finishing pages before the final print deadline. The heavy gray clouds made the late afternoon feel like twilight, casting eerie shadows down the empty corridors. It was 5:43 p.m. when the loudspeaker crackled to life. Attention. This is a lockdown. Repeat, this is a lockdown. Follow procedures immediately. At first we thought it was a drill. But drills didn't happen this late, and never without warning. A sudden, unsettling silence swallowed the school. We exchanged nervous glances, our laughter dying mid-sentence. Mrs. Anders, our supervising teacher, paled instantly and hurried us into the nearest classroom. She locked the door, turned off the lights, and ordered us to sit against the far wall, away from the windows. The only sounds were the distant hum of the storm and our shallow breathing. Minutes stretched unbearably long. Then came the soft, unmistakable sound of footsteps in the hallway, slow, deliberate, heavy. They didn't sound like Mr. Ramirez, the janitor we all knew. Whoever was out there dragged their feet, as if each step was an effort. Mrs. Anders pressed a trembling finger to her lips. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure it would give us away. I held my breath when the doorknob twisted slightly, rattling against the locked mechanism. We weren't supposed to be alone in the school. And yet it was clear, someone, or something, was moving through those deserted halls searching for us. And they knew exactly where we were. The doorknob jiggled again, harder this time, followed by a sharp, hollow knock that echoed through the darkened room. None of us dared move. Mrs. Anders' face was rigid with fear, her hand clenched so tightly around her phone that her knuckles turned white. She tried to text for help, but the weak signal bars mocked her efforts. The knock came again, then a second, softer one farther down the hallway. Whoever was there was moving, trying other doors. Listening closely. Hunting. In the dim light filtering through the blinds, I could see Mason trembling beside me. What if it's a shooter? He whispered, his voice breaking. But it didn't feel like that. There was something off about the way the footsteps moved. Something not quite human. Another noise snapped our attention to the vent above the whiteboard, a low, scraping sound like fingernails dragging across metal. I craned my neck upward and caught a flash of movement behind the slats. It was gone in an instant, but it left a sick feeling in my stomach. Mrs. Anders hissed under her breath, urging us to stay silent. Outside, the hallway lights began to flicker, buzzing loudly before plunging into complete darkness. We were swallowed by shadows. Suddenly, we heard a faint voice drifting through the darkness. It was a girl's voice, soft and pleading. Please, help me. It sounded like it was just outside the door, fragile and broken. Mason started to get up, but Mrs. Anders grabbed his arm, pulling him back down with surprising strength. Don't, she whispered. That's not real. The voice came again, closer this time, impossibly close, as if it was coming from inside the room with us. We weren't just hiding anymore. We were being lured. We huddled tighter together as the room seemed to shrink around us, the darkness pressing against our skin like a heavy, suffocating blanket. The soft, pleading voice kept repeating, "Help me," but each time it sounded less human, more distorted, like a scratched recording played over fraying speakers. Something moved near the window. I caught a glimpse of a shadow, a tall, twisted figure standing just beyond the glass. Its head was cocked at an unnatural angle, and though I couldn't make out its face, I knew it was staring directly at us. Mrs. Anders fumbled through her purse, pulling out a small flashlight. She hesitated, then clicked it on, sending a weak beam slicing through the darkness. For a split second, the light illuminated the room, and that's when we saw it. In the far corner, near the supply closet, there was someone standing there. Not a student. Not anyone we recognized. The figure was thin, almost skeletal, with long arms that dangled too low, fingertips grazing the floor. Its skin was pale and mottled, and its mouth hung open in a silent scream. The flashlight flickered violently, and when the beam steadied again, the corner was empty. The figure had vanished. Mason whimpered softly, squeezing his eyes shut. Emily, another girl from the committee, started to pray under her breath. The air grew colder, our breath visible in short, panicked gasps. Then, without warning, the locked classroom door creaked open on its own, revealing the pitch-black hallway beyond. No footsteps this time. Just silence, and the overwhelming certainty that whatever was out there had just been invited in. Mrs. Anders turned off the flashlight. "Stay low. Stay together," she whispered, her voice trembling. But deep down we all knew. We were already too late. The open door yawned before us like a mouth ready to swallow anything that dared move. The hallway beyond was pure black, the kind of darkness that felt alive. Mrs. Anders motioned for us to crawl toward the back of the classroom, away from the door. I could barely hear anything over the hammering of my heart, but as we moved I caught the faintest sound, something dragging across the floor. A wet, slithering scrape, slow and steady. It was getting closer. We squeezed into the narrow space between a row of filing cabinets, trying to vanish into the shadows. I pressed my back against the cold metal and clamped my hand over my mouth to stifle a sob. Emily clutched my sleeve tightly, her nails digging into my skin. Through the tiny gap between the cabinets I could just make out a shape entering the classroom. It moved unnaturally, jerking and twitching as if every step was a battle against its own broken body. As it crossed into the faint spill of moonlight from the windows I got a better look. Its limbs were grotesquely elongated, the joints bending wrong like a marionette with cut strings. Its head lolled from side to side, and where its eyes should have been, there were only deep, gaping pits. It stopped in the center of the room, tilting its head in slow, deliberate motions, listening, searching. Then it spoke, not with a voice but with a horrible, wet croaking sound that echoed inside my skull. "Found you." Emily whimpered, and the creature snapped its head toward our hiding place. Mrs. Anders didn't hesitate. She grabbed a heavy metal stapler from a nearby desk and hurled it across the room, smashing it against the far wall. The thing lunged toward the noise and we ran. We bolted from the classroom, our footsteps pounding against the tiled floors, echoing like gunshots in the empty halls. The emergency lights flickered weakly above us, casting long, jittering shadows that seemed to chase us as we ran. Behind us, the creature let out a guttural shriek, a sound so twisted it made my blood run cold. Mrs. Anders led the way, guiding us through the labyrinth of hallways toward the cafeteria, the only place with an exterior door that might still be unlocked. Mason slipped and nearly fell, but Emily yanked him back up without missing a beat. None of us dared look back. As we turned the final corner we came to a dead stop. The cafeteria doors were wide open, but the space beyond was wrong. It wasn't the familiar rows of tables and chairs anymore. Instead, the inside stretched into an endless black void, swallowing all light. From within, faint whispers called to us, promising safety, pleading for us to step forward. Mrs. Anders cursed under her breath and yanked us in the opposite direction. That's when the fire alarm suddenly blared to life, shrieking so loudly we had to cover our ears. Sprinklers erupted overhead, soaking us instantly. The creature screeched again, furious and wild, disoriented by the noise and chaos. Somehow, in the confusion, we found the main entrance. Miraculously, it was unchained. We burst through the doors into the cold, stormy night, collapsing onto the wet grass outside. As we gasped for air, I dared one last look at the building. There, just inside the doorway, stood the figure, watching. Waiting. Its head tilted, almost curious. The police arrived minutes later, but they found no signs of forced entry, no intruders. Officially, it was just a lockdown drill gone wrong. But we knew better. We were not alone that night, and we never would be again. If this story sent chills down your spine, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying tales. And remember, sometimes the things that find you in the dark never really leave. Stay safe, if you can.